Andy Dunne, one of the smoothest, suavest voices in world sport, not to mind Irish rugby.
What an intro! I love it.
Joins us at 10 to 9. You know, I mean, okay, I want to cut to the chase because of my horse racing background and all that, and betting is kind of a big part of my life. I don't want to initially get into the Howley thing, but Scotland 3-1 to beat Ireland. Yeah. Are we, you know, it was harping back to the England game in Lansdowne at the start of the year where I was like, why are we so short to beat England? And England were 3-1 outsiders. But what do you make of it? I just be worried about Ireland in terms of, are we reading too much into the Wales game in terms of everything's fine, you know, and that's our injury crisis as well.
Well, it was much improved in the second Wales game. But I would, my toes are curled up a little bit when I hear the 3-1 with Scotland. I mean, we have beaten them. I don't know what streak it is, but we've certainly beaten them successively now on many occasions. And every once in a while, and I'm damaged by history, but
in a general sense, or
yeah,
get to that in
a general sense, but
I'm damaged by history, says Dunne.
But they've picked us off once in a while in an important Six Nations game or Five Nations game over the years, and there's a part of me that just feels they're waiting in the long grass this week. Without doubt, in my mind, we've a stronger squad. We're a better team on our day. But they are the same side who scored 38 points unanswered in Twickenham, for example, at the end of last year. And when, when they're hot, they're on fire, and they're very unpredictable. And as a result, I'm definitely on edge. Yeah,
I watch rugby when I can, but I do like watching Scotland because, like Finn Russell and just that unpredictability of them, and you can see Gregor Townsend stamp on the team as well. They're probably everything Ireland aren't in a way. We're a very kind of rigid, formulaic team, and that makes me wonder, you know, how it's going to go. And there's been a lot of talk about the weather. Are we actually hoping for bad weather here to kind of make it more of a brawn thing?
I would have thought we would welcome wet conditions because we can choke them. We can play our game where the forwards stick it up the jumper. We hold possession in their territory deep, and we grind them down. And I think it's probably our smartest route to success against Scotland. So maybe if not the full-on typhoon, if we can get half of it, it'll probably help.
What have you made of the Scotland kind of press conferences coming into it as well? They seem to be saying the right things in terms of their confidence about the group.
They seem quite confident and in a non-fake way. I don't think they're just towing a party line. You hear in Stuart Hogg talking about, why can't we go and win a World Cup? It sounds a bit far-fetched, but they should probably, they were robbed against Australia in the last World Cup to get into a semi-final. So they have history there in terms of successful performances at World Cups, probably to a greater degree than ourselves. They've been semi-finalists, I think, twice before, and you're going back as far as 91 against England. But they don't seem to have the millstone around their neck that we do when it comes to World Cup performances. The other thing that strikes me is they seem like a very happy, relaxed camp.
That helps.
It always helps, I'm not so sure. There seems to be a little edge and tension to what I'm hearing coming out of the Irish camp. Again, no harm on a World Cup week, it's not like everyone's going to be sitting around drinking G&Ts and relaxed and telling jokes, but there has to be a balance struck, I think, between tension and arousal levels come match day to make the right calls, and when you're under pressure, and a little bit of a mix between relaxation and tension is probably optimal. So it certainly seems like the Scots are relaxed anyway.
Well, maybe Ireland are fundamentally unsure about things because of the year that has gone on and just the injuries, and you know, obviously even the selection process for the whole thing might be slightly hovering in the background as well.
Yeah, I don't think it's ideal if you sat down the Irish management and said, the last 6 weeks, is that exactly how you planned it? And they might say it, in terms of how we want to peak. There's no way that was in the playbook in terms of getting that hammering against England. Even the little things like the Devon Toner selection, which they're entirely okay, it's up to them to pick their team, but the manner in which it was leaked, that wasn't ideal. The manner in which suddenly they had to kind of, with great haste, announce the Irish squad for the World Cup 5 days before they wanted to. So there's been, they might be small things, but they're going to add a little bit of anxiety and tension, I think, to the overall group. And then you see, first week, they land down in Japan and two of the boys pick up soft tissue injuries. So it's probably not been anywhere close to what their ideal prep would have been, but they've got to just get on with it.
It is remarkable when you think of the odds of this time of year you get injuries like that when everyone's been sort of shadowboxing, I suppose. Carney, Earls and Henshaw, Carby, if they're all out, right, so what are we looking at in terms of centre full-back? Where are our options? What's he going to go with if the injury crisis works out as bad as it might?
I suppose I didn't anticipate all of them being. I mean, I would have thought Carby is probably
tough questions.
You really do, yeah. Is there anyone left?
No, actually.
Conway and maybe Stockdale. Are probably your options then with obviously behind. I think Larmour. I'm not so sure will he look at Larmour given. He's given him a run there, and there was question marks around his defensive management, his game management as a fullback. You're looking at the goalkeeper role as well. You're looking at a guy who gives huge reassurance to the 14 guys Carney in front, and it's exactly Carney. He's he has that in spades for the little bit of pace he's lost and maybe the attacking prowess that it begins to escape players as they get older. He makes up for it in spades in terms of his overall management and reassurance of the group at the back. Larmour is at the opposite end of his career where he's still young, explosive, unpredictable. So he might give you a couple of brilliant line breaks, but he probably doesn't give that group huge reassurance in terms of game management and defensive management, coordination, communication, all these buzzwords. So I don't know, Will, knowing the way Joe selects, as he can be traditionally a conservative selector, he might look for a bit more experience in the shape of Conway, maybe.
There's an update that Carney and Earls will train on Friday, and obviously that's a very positive update as well. Is this? I know I was kind of reading the Irish Independent this morning. Rory O'Connor was saying he understands that the participation are in jeopardy of 2/3 of Ireland's first choice back three, and he was kind of saying that there were positive signs from the group, but maybe that they were putting a positive spin on it. But Carney and Earls to train on Friday is good news.
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely. I mean, they. From whatever gets, whatever comes through the gaps in terms of information, unequivocally, if he's training on Friday, it's good news. Yeah.
And
if he had a proper muscle tear, there's no way he'd be training on Friday. So.
Henshaw's in the mix for Japan, but not the Scottish match. Should we be prepared for this sort of injury crisis, or is there a bit of a freakish element about it that it just happened so quickly as well?
I think there's way too many variables at play in terms of saying you can't really prepare for it. It's just really, really bad luck, is my view. I think strength and conditioning coaches, fitness coaches, they're huge on scientific data, they're huge on the load and the workload that's going through players' bodies. They're measuring it constantly. There's just too many variables. Change of environment, long haul flight, hydration, sleep, the hardness of the pitches they're training on. There's just so many things going in there. There's just bad luck, timing for the player, the amount of physiological markers that are, they're probably taking on each player. It's certainly not a lack of prep or a lack of correct analysis of the player's state. It's just bad luck. They've picked up a couple of soft tissue injuries and hopefully they're mild.
Just say, if the four of those happen to be out, could we take that hit against Scotland?
I do. I think we can. Ironically, I think I'd be more concerned if 4 or 5 of our pack were out against Scotland. I think
that's where we function, I guess.
Yeah, and certainly with this Irish side and the style of which we play, we're and if it's raining, for example, again, you just want a safe fielder of the ball in the back three, and a guy who'll make his tackles, and they're all capable of doing that under pressure. So it would be more, I think, more of a hit if we were to lose, a Furlong or James Ryan or something to a soft tissue injury, because they're integral to certainly now the line out with Ryan and the absence of Toner, and then Furlong from a scrummaging point of view.
How good has Ryan become?
World class, I think, without a doubt. He's the contributions he makes on a match-to-match basis in terms of like the frequency of how involved he is pretty phenomenal, but how effective each involvement is. He's consistently making ground through tackles. He's consistently making very high tackle counts. He's obviously a brilliant line-out option. We've heard a lot of emphasis around the scrummaging lock now. He's not specifically the scrummaging lock with behind the tight head, but I'm sure at 6'6", 6'7", he's able to provide a little bit of ballast to the front rows. So,
in terms of the line-out, like Scotland's card has been marked, to put it mildly. So what are they going to do? And are you fairly assured that we're kind of back to where we should be in terms of line-out?
No, I wouldn't.
There's a lot of like, I'm not really sure what to expect here. This could kind of go either way, and there's a lot of pressure obviously on Rory Best. And
it's again, I mentioned like the variables that are at play around soft tissue injuries, you know, in the week we've had. Similarly, there's probably a huge amount of variables at stake in a line out. There's any given team will have maybe over 100 different calls. They'll have movement variations. They'll have delayed throws, early throws, faster throws, lobs. You know, they're working off a pod system of maybe 3 guys with, you know, a jumper and 2 either side. So it can at times look like ballet, you know, in the middle of a game.
How much of that is kind of impromptu throughout the game in terms of how it's developing, and how much of it is completely planned beforehand then for the line?
I'd say almost none of it's impromptu. I used to hate the line out. I played with Steve Borthwick, who's been involved with the Lions in England, and at the time was a player and one of the great line-out nerds. Laminated playbooks, you know, 12-hour work
Laminated,
days.
no less. Lest it be raining.
Absolutely, yeah. And he gave me an insight into how complex it can get. And the flip side of it is again, the All Blacks, who always seem to find a simple way, would have been their approach was to get set early and get the hooker to get the ball in the air as early as possible before the opposition defence can get set. And basically, if you pull the trigger first, you're giving yourself the best chance if your timing is right. I mean, it's a little bit of an oversimplification, but they definitely try and get set early, set first, to get the ball in early with the lift just a split second before the opposition. When you see a team struggling in the line-out, they tend to be ponderous, take their time. You see the hooker cleaning the ball. You see, you know, a couple of calls getting repeated. You see him holding the ball and pausing behind his head and waiting on the lip. You know,
lack of confidence as well.
Yeah, I think with confidence comes speed in the line-out. With lack of confidence, you get a little ponderous, bit of second guessing. Unfortunately, in the last few weeks, there's not enough consistency there to suggest they're going to go in confident against Scotland. So if I was Townsend, I would massively go after the Irish line-out. And you know, with the absence of Toner, that selection, there's pressure on management and players like to deliver.
How are Scotland in that regard then? Are they equipped to... I mean, they've lost 1 or 2 key players in recent years. One of the Gray brothers gone. So they I don't know enough in terms of their stats, for example, but I know that they can certainly spoil. I mean, in terms of winning their own line-out, it could well be, given wet conditions, 2 teams spoiling each other's line-out as opposed to one team having a clear victorious line-out, you know, 90% success rate. I think they might spoil a little of our ball, and we may do the same in return. It's going, like, if Ireland don't sort out their line-out problems, we're absolutely screwed in the World Cup, basically. Long term.
Yeah, I think in this World Cup, I think in any World Cup, if your set piece isn't strong, you're immediately behind the 8 ball.
And we need everything to go right anyway.
We do, we do. So you'd be hopeful. That's again why the Toner decision is quite a surprise, you know, for all.
Yay or nay?
I think it's the wrong decision in my mind. I understand they've got, from their own analysis point of view, they seem to really emphasise that scrummaging lock position. But in terms of what you lose in the line-out with Toner running the show, I'm not a tight head prop, and I've never had Devon Toner scrummage behind me, but I can't imagine there's a massive difference between what he can do and what John Klein can do.
But what did you make of Klein against Wales then?
A reasonable performance, yeah. I mean, for sure, it's I think they've probably looked from a philosophical point of view of bringing in, the likes of Henderson, Ryan, Byrne and Klein, they're all more mobile around the field than Toner. They're all likely to be a bit more dynamic when they carry. And perhaps that's also a reason. However, I think in terms of the doubt and question marks around our set piece, and particularly the line-out, the guy who's run the line-out successfully for the last 2 years, to not be in there on top of a slightly line-out that's operating low on confidence, I think it's the wrong call. Yeah.
Where are we out half-wise, do you think, in terms of like? Is everything okay with Sexton? Are we going to be like?
I think we're fine. Yeah. Not a concern to me.
Where is Carberry going to play when he plays?
I can see Carberry fit playing at fullback, and slotting into that out half position in broken play. Maybe.
After another Sexton tackle or whatever.
Yeah, or both running that position. If we set it up around the midfield area, you need a first receiver from the ruck either side. And I can see a fit Carberry having quite an influential role in this World Cup in that area. In terms of Sexton, I'd have certainly no concerns around his ability to deliver. We all hope that he doesn't pick up an early knock. And he's 34. He's been around the block. He's very physical. You'd hope we get a bit of luck. Maybe we deserve a bit of luck on that one. But and then Carty, I think, is a superb player. Absolutely superb. So, to me, out half is not a worry at all. Actually,
you're happy enough with Carty if he's there.
Yeah, I think he's a super player, yeah.
This weekend, obviously, France, Argentina, New Zealand, South Africa, the undoubted highlights. France for Argentina for a start. What do we expect here?
Oh, God. I would probably back the Argies at this stage. I think France have had a pretty inconsistent couple of years. If we talk about World Cup history, they've always gone well beyond expectations, the French, but so have the Argentinians in recent history, and their demolition of a depleted Irish side in Cardiff probably still burnt into our brains. Could be a little cracker of a game, actually. Yeah.
Like, is there like the possibility that France kind of can turn it on?
There's always the possibility France can turn it on. Literally always. They of late they've been quite, you'd be quite deflated watching them at times, because the classic French play of the 80s and 90s seems to have almost deserted them. But every once in a while they pluck it out of obscurity, with a sweeping brand new selection of players, and something happens, they get out the right side of the bed. But that's a pretty unpredictable game, but I'm going to back the Argies.
You going to get up for Australia and Fiji 5:45 Saturday morning?
Absolutely not.
No. Very honest.
5:45 is way too early on a day off from work.
To be up at 6:30 this morning you record it.
Yeah. But you've a racing background. You all get up at about 4 in the morning.
I've
the stables.
Yeah, I don't have like a racing background. I just kind of fell into racing journalism, but I certainly don't muck out stables or get up at 4:30 in the morning. Will you be up for France Argentina at 8:15?
I probably will be. Yeah,
probably.
Yeah, I think I will. No, I will be.
Well, you'll definitely be up for New Zealand South Africa, which is 10:45.
I can guarantee.
Andy, it's the third game. I remember Ireland playing Cameroon in the World Cup back in the day, and you've been out the night before, and bloody hell, missed the first half. I think it was like 7 a.m.
It was. No, I think I was in college. I was 19. I think I
simpler times.
Pushed all the way through. I think I just stayed awake for that one.
New Zealand South Africa. This is obviously a game of particular relevance for us as well. We'll be playing one of them. New Zealand are hot favourites. Do they have any question marks against them going into this World Cup?
They to me, they're not the side that won certainly not the side that won the last World Cup. The 2011 side ended up winning with Stephen Donald, their third choice out half. They plucked from a fishing trip. He was overweight. The skin tight jersey, his belly was hanging out, kicking over that last penalty. And the French were actually robbed in that final. There was multiple disciplinary issues that McCaw got away with. So the 11 side was more a side that just through sheer belligerence in 2011 won the World Cup for New Zealand. Yeah. Lovely at this stage in the morning. 2015 they were a superior side to 2011. I think at that stage maybe one of the great New Zealand sides of World Cup history, and in general they were outstanding. They really demolished Australia in the second half of that World Cup, and were thoroughly deserving. This is not the same quality across the board from a leadership point of view, from a kind of marquee player point of view, but the sum of their parts, they're still New Zealand. They're still high quality, and with a couple of world-class players like Kieran Reid and Barrett. So I see it being a very, very tight game against South Africa, but with a New Zealand win.
Will you make it over at any stage?
If off the ball want to send me, I'm ready and willing. Yeah, I don't know if the producers or directors can hear that.
It's getting this from the top, right?
And no, that's a no, Andy. O'Brien, can we?
That's a no.
He might fund it.
He might. If we're betting on it, wouldn't be entirely optimistic. But you never know. You never know. It is a public plea.
Can we get a public poll?
We can. Send me? It's like, should I start a podcast? On a scale of 1 to 10, finally, how optimistic are you Ireland can reach a semi-final?
About 2.
Oh my God.
Yeah, unfortunately. If you'd asked me this question last November, I would have said 8 out of 10. Unfortunately,
That's a hell of a swing.
Yeah, it was a hell of a swing in performance. One of the great sporting mysteries to me, that how we
on from the New Zealand game
from the New Zealand game to 2 to 3 months later with the same group of people. It really looked like a different group, and
teams have figured this out, though. Is it not?
Yeah,
nice?
teams certainly figured out the style of play, and there's an element of, from a coaching point of view, do you abandon ship very early, or do you stick with the processes that have delivered you great success?
That's a huge problem as well.
For any sporting team, you've got. At the time, we were second in the world. We've beaten the All Blacks, won in Australia, and won a Grand Slam. And you've a bad day against England, you don't suddenly throw the baby out with the bathwater and say, okay, we've got to change everything. But I think it was pretty evident by, say, 10 minutes to go in the Welsh game,
we're in trouble.
It had been a pretty disastrous Six Nations. The England game again in Twickenham wouldn't have done a whole lot for the group confidence, and then a much improved Welsh game will help a little. But I think there's a fickle nature to our performance at the moment, and as a result, I don't see it right now. But the irony being, if we get through Scotland and we get through Japan, as the tournament goes on, I think we will become an increasing threat. My biggest concern at the moment is actually the Scotland and Japan, this 6-day turnaround. Slightly depleted, Scotland waiting in the long grass, and Japan are literally waiting to pick off whoever loses that game. Japan have built the last 4 years around this game. They've been set up by the tournament organisers for an easy start. They've an 8-day break, and they are going to go full on 100% to attack and try and pick off whoever loses the Ireland-Scotland game. And if we get unlucky in that Scottish game, you're suddenly facing this disastrous prospect of a Japanese side going hell for leather just to pick you off 6 days later. So I'm very, very concerned about the initial stages. If we manage to get through, which I'm very hopeful we do, I actually think we will be a much, much harder prospect come quarter-final. Maybe I'll revise my 2 out of 10 to 4 out of 10.
Yeah, that's a big difference,
20%.
2 out of 10 is more of a headline, really, But thanks a million for coming in.
Not at all, thank you.
And we apologise for all Aussies and Fijians who obviously just not really important enough to rugby nations for Andy to get up for a 5:45.
There's probably a lot of Aussie and Fijian listeners at the moment, is there?
Absolutely, and on our worldwide circuit. But thanks again to Andy.